Tobias Taylor here in the background joining us in. Anybody didn't want me to, I could throw a quick chop back there, right? So today we wanted to talk about the regrets that come along with giving up and quitting, right? Come at you from different angles and our perspective about them.
Okay,
right?
now check it out. Now, a lot of kids get to certain stages in their career as they're growing up in sports or in school or trying new things, and they quit, right? And then the parents allow them to quit. And the parents allow them to quit forgetting or not giving it any real consideration to how it was when they were kids and they quit. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because I don't understand how kids can, or correction, I don't understand how parents can allow their children to quit something after they've invested years and years into the athletic pursuit. And even if it's not yielding you the rewards that you want or the results that you want, and even if the kid is not giving 100% like you want them to, it's always up to the parent to not allow their kid to quit. Now, why do I feel like it's up to the parent not to allow their kid to quit? It's because the parent is 20, 30, 40 years older, right? So they have all this life knowledge and life lessons of knowing what happens when you make quitting a habit. And how does it become a habit? It's because you accept it, you make excuses for it, and then it becomes easier and easier and easier to quit as you go through life and you encounter difficulties in life. So with this being said, and I've heard this one before, and this isn't a quote that I came up with, but a lot of instructors say, it's not the kids that quit the martial arts, it's the parents that quit, and then the kids end up quitting. Or it's not the parents who really give their kids input or insight about quitting or persevering. And this is what I'm getting at, is when the kid is doing something, like let's say you had your kid in karate since they were a little kid, and then they got a little bit older, and then they're like a brown belt, and they're about to get their black belt, and they say, I just don't want to do this no more, I want to quit, I don't like it. And the parents say, you know what, that's fine. That's fine, go ahead and quit. Quit little Johnny, quit little Sally, go on ahead. And then 15 years later, you run into that kid, and they're grown and like, man, I wish I had never quit. I wish I had stayed with it. I don't know why I quit. I regret it. Or you run across adults who say the same thing. They might have trained with you 10 years ago, and then they turn around and quit, and then they come back and say, oh, man, I wish I wouldn't quit. Because, see, the one thing you got to take into consideration is if you stay with something or if you quit, whatever it is, school, karate, sports, wrestling, whatever it is, if you stay with it or if you quit, the time still passes.
Yep.
So the years still go by if you give it 100% or you say, you know what, I'm going to hang it up. Because you never know what might happen if you persevered and saw it all the way through. And the rewards you might get might not even be rewards that other people can see.
Yep.
These might be just the rewards that give you more self-esteem, more confidence, more courage to go into adverse situations and come out on top. And even if you don't come out on top, or people don't think you came out on top, you still know deep down inside that you persevered, you saw it all the way through, and when the going got tough, the tough got going.
Yep, you could be right there for that breakthrough with those diamonds on the other side. But even if not, I'm going to piggyback on what Taiwan said. I was recently in sales for about the last 6 years. All right. And every time I would sit down and talk to a client and they see that or hear that I was in martial arts, I had little flyers around on my desk, right? And they would say, oh, well, when I was young, I was in karate, or I was in taekwondo. Oh, I used to box, or I wrestled for a little bit. And every single time, before I even ask the next question, like, who's your instructor? Where did you do it? How long you do it? Before I even ask, every single one, 100% of the time, they said, I wish I never quit. Before I even asked them, well, how long would you do it? They said, oh, man, I wish I would never quit, or I wish I would have stayed long enough to do whatever my goal was, get that black belt, compete in my first boxing tournament or whatever it was. Or I wish, it doesn't matter, man. I've talked, this is from people, multiple people. I have to say, anywhere from the 50 people, from the ages of 21, and the oldest was 80. He was 89 years old. He was buying something from me. 89. He said, hey, man, when I was younger, I used to box, and I wish I would have stayed with it longer. I wish it had nothing to do with competing, but I just wish I would have never stopped. 89 years old. How long was it that he carried that regret of giving up then? Oh, 89 years old. He was still with it, still able to walk around.
Or another example, when Tobias took his first 2 pro fights and lost both of them, I was in my heart thinking, "Woo! I wonder if this is going to make Tobias want to quit, or if this is going to give Tobias an extra oomph and intestinal fortitude to see it through and start getting his W's, start putting forth the energy he needs to start winning."
I'm not a quitter, baby.
Because I was a little worried because I've had fighters in the past who might have went through their fighting career as professional or amateur and do really good, and then they come across one hiccup or one loss, and then they just throw it in the towel.
All the time.
And then they look back, and then they get upset, and they start thinking, "Man, only if I would have stuck with it, or stayed the course, or kept that focus." And with this being said too, is right around the corner is New Year's.
Yep.
A lot of people make all these New Year's resolutions. "Oh, I want to do this," or "I want to do that." It's not even a matter of making a New Year's resolution. It's just a matter of making something a habit.
Yep.
Making good life decisions and good choices to carry you through to the next year. It's not a matter of living in the past and saying, "Well, since I did quit or since I did come up short, that it's the end and I can't bounce back." That's in the past. You don't live in the past. We live in the present, and we're living also for the future. So you leave those bad choices and decisions behind. You leave them with you to motivate you and to remind you of the regret that you did feel, and you don't want to feel it again. So there you go into the next year with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more perseverance, a little bit more focus. And then you always see on the news, "Oh, these are the tips, and these are the tips."
Mm-hmm.
All the tips and all that other stuff is great, but what really boils down to is right here.
Yep.
You know, it's the decisions that you make when you're laying in the bed, staring at the ceiling, and you say, "I need to change my life. I need to do things that are going to move me in this direction." Yep. So what you do is you start thriving, because we always talk about goal setting too on Coaches in Your Corner. You start thriving to accomplish little goals, little obtainable things that won't, I'm going to go to the gym real hard after New Year's, and I'm going to do 1,000 crunches, and the next thing you know, you sore for 2 months because you pulled a muscle and you ain't doing nothing. So you don't overdo it. You don't just jump into the deep end of the pool. You know, you ease back into it, and you develop these new habits. You replace your old bad habits with new good habits, and you don't quit just because it's tough or just because the results aren't what you want them to be. You don't go making excuses. You don't go blaming other people for why you come up short. The only person you can blame for when you come up short is yourself. And the person in the mirror is the only person who will help you get through it, or the person that will stop you from achieving whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
All the time.
A lot of the times, like, you're going to fail a bunch of times before you even win or get the success that you want. So, you know, you're going to go through those failures. You might fail once, twice, 3 times.
You might fail 10 times.
Yeah, but that 11th time, you might win. And then after that 11th time, you might be like, like a light bulb in your head might pop off. And you're like, "Oh, I understand now." And you just might start to get it, regardless if it's martial arts or school or your job, anything. So
Right, because all right, now check this out. In life, and then we all have heard the caterpillar. I'm going to talk about the caterpillar. The caterpillar weaved this cocoon, right? And when the caterpillar's coming out of this cocoon, it has to squeeze up out of that cocoon, which flushes all that fluid and stuff into its wings. But if the caterpillar doesn't do that and somebody opens up the shell for its cocoon and makes it easy for the caterpillar will never, ever be able to take flight. Mm-hmm. So all that is saying is that the adversity that you're going through, the difficult times that you're going through, when life is punching you in the face, all those things do is make you stronger. Because life never gets easier.
No.
Life does not get easy. What happens is either A, you get stronger, or B, you develop more of a quitting attitude. That's all that happens. You get stronger through life, or you develop a quitting attitude. It just irks me to the core when I know that sometimes kids quit things not knowing that the outcome, not knowing that down the road that the things that they quit will yield good results if they never did quit. And that comes down to the parents too. Because if you got 20 years or 30 years on your kid, that's wisdom. That's years of life experiences that somebody who's 15, 16, 10, or 11 does not have. And they might think they know it, but they don't know jack diddly. You know how kids get, they think they know it all. They don't know nothing. And
Right. That's another one. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to go on that tangent. But But with that being said, you use your foresight, your knowledge, and your wisdom, and you put it to your kids so they can absorb it, so they can soak it up, and so they can say, you know what, Mom, Dad, it was 20 years ago, and I was about to quit something, I was about to hang it up, even though I invested all this time and energy in it, and you made me stay the course, you made me see it through to the end, you made me finish the race, and now I am so grateful that you did that for me. Because what you did is you didn't make life easier for me, and you made life realistic, and you made me rise to the occasion, understanding that I'm going to always come across adversities and difficulties in life, and that's when you knuckle down, guards up, chin down, and you push through.
Yep. So we have real quick making things a habit, right? That's one thing that's going to help propel you in the right direction, and not worrying about failure, right? Letting some people, even before failing, don't even want to try in fear of failing, right? And that's even a little deeper. So because they're so worried about not so much the failure of what other people in their inner circle might say to them, right? Or what the world or social media might say to them or about them about their failure. So we have, I don't know if you don't want to necessarily call them tips or hacks. How about mindset shifts that we have that can help you propel you in the right direction to keep from quitting. So we have making things a habit is one. Not worried about failure, because failure is part of the growth process, baby. That's just what it is, right?
And seeding. What is seeding? Seeding is when you put a thought in your head and you repeat the thought. Positive thought. Nothing real big, nothing real elaborate. But for example, with my youngest son, I have him repeat two things all the time. I'll ask him, "What are you?" And he'll tell me, "I'm a champion." Because I told him, whenever I ask you, "What are you?" That's the response I want, is "I'm a champion." Then I'll ask him, "What type of wrestler are you?" And he'll respond with, "I'm a great wrestler." So with this being said, because last year he didn't win any matches. This year he's won 2 matches so far, but it's like a burden has been lifted off his shoulders. And by me putting these thoughts in his head and constantly have him repeating these things or answering my questions with those answers, eventually, you know what happens? He starts to believe it.
Yep.
Once he starts to believe it, the change takes place. Once he starts to believe it, the change takes place. Because the change will not take, you can take the horse to the well, but you can't make it drink, right? But if you can convince the horse that he needs to drink, then every time you take the horse to the well, he will drink.
And then something else you can do too is try either one or two things. Surround yourself by more positive people, right? Or two, distance yourself somewhat from people that's constantly complaining. Even if it has nothing to do about what your goals or what you're trying to do or what you're trying to accomplish, let it be in athletic, sports, life, work, whatever it is. If you all the time around people that's complaining about something, about their life, they bring you down. So separate, put yourself around yourself, more positive people, teammates who trying to do better, who telling you, hey, you can do it, hey, you can do it, who's more supportive emotionally or physically or just there for you, making your own your team. So that the problem is with that, right? You hear Gary Vee said all the time. Sometimes it's unfortunately it could be someone in your immediate family, right? It could be mother, father, sister, brother, right? And I ain't saying don't be friends with them, right? Still, just distance yourself a little bit from them and be around people that upbeat and uplifting.
Yeah, they lift you up. They bring you up. People whose energy is positive. When you get around people who have positive energy, next thing you know, your thoughts start to go positive. Because there's several sayings. There is you know what? The man who says he can't and the man who says he can are both right.
All the time.
There's the other saying where the old Chinese proverb, the man who says you can't do it should never get in the way of the man that's doing it.
Right.
Or woman. So with all that being said, it's positive self-talk. It's positive self-talk in the mirror. You convince yourself. Once you convince yourself and you believe whatever it is you're telling yourself, then it starts to manifest itself in reality. If you believe you're worthless and you're not capable and all you do is just quit because you made it a habit, then that's what happens. If you believe you are capable, if you believe always reaching for the stars and landing on the moon, if you believe the sky is the limit, if you believe there are no boundaries to your goals, then that's what happens. Both are correct.
Yep. So we're going to leave you with that. So real quick, make it a habit. That's number one. Don't worry about failure. Surround yourself around positive, uplifting people or groups. find someone. There's someone in your life who's telling you, who's cheering in your corner, man. Spouse, grandmother. You know, we all need that person in their corner. You know, with the pom poms, telling you can do it. You have somebody, even when you in your darkest corner, like, ah, man, it's just me. There's somebody you may not even know it. There's somebody there saying, hey, man, you can do it.
It might
You
be
got
the third round of a cage fight, and you might be sitting there, nose bleeding, lip bloody, a black eye, you huffing and puffing for air. Your opponent's across the ring looking fresh, and your coach is like, you know what? This is when we put in all that work. This is when you need to leave it all in the cage. This is when you need to go out there and let everybody know who you are. And then you go out there and that's what you do.
Yep.
Because you always have somebody in your corner.
All
Coaches
the time.
in your corner.
Coaches in your corner. There's always someone out there chanting your name, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're going through your hard stuff like Hulk Hogan, and you can start right. Get that second win. Don't let left drag you down. So get that second win. Stomp
right.
your foot and say, "All right, imagine
you gotta
those
be
people
old
cheering
school
for
if
you."
you know about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, you gotta be old school. You gotta be old school.
And on that note, because we don't just work on your physical, we work on your mental too. We will turn your attitude around. We'll turn your body around. Come up here, train with us up at Rising Dragon.
All right, we're out.
Peace.